I had a very unexpected and transformative experience at the passing of my grandmother, Magda. We were very close. She always lived with us. She lost her husband in the Holocaust. They were Hungarian Jews from a small town called Kartzag. And my grandfather was taken away by the Nazis while my grandmother was pregnant and expecting their first and only child, who would be my mom. So he never met my mom. My grandmother, pregnant and then with a baby, passed through a concentration camp at Theresienstadt. It's an incredible story. She kept that baby alive. And then she was born, my mother Kati, and eventually she grew up, married my dad and raised a family. My grandmother lived with us, and she never saw her husband again after 1944, but their love was a great love for the ages. And we always knew about her that she was waiting. She was not in a hurry. She wanted to really enjoy this life. And while she sounds like a saint, she was actually a very funny and upbeat and wonderful Hungarian woman who cooked the most incredible food, from goulash to her baked apple cake, which was amazing. At any rate, we all knew that she was just waiting, till life ended in this world, and then she would be rejoined with her Beshert, her soulmate, her husband Imre. And so 53 years after they were separated, in 1997, she lay dying. It was actually a cancer that started as a melanoma in her bedroom in our house in Bethesda, Maryland. I flew home from LA. My mom told me that the end was near for my grandmother. And we were all there at her bedside. Myself, my brother, and my mom. And I was actually in a chair right next to her bed, and my grandmother was right here beside me. My mom and my brother were right there. We were holding her hands. She'd been in hospice care for a few weeks. Her body was just racked with the disease, and she'd been unconscious for a while. Her breathing was very labored. And then, it was the end, and the breaths were coming, intermittently and with great labor. And then she took her last breath. And if you've ever seen someone die and take a last breath, we knew that, like, it was the end. And so my mom was sort of like beside herself, weeping, and I was crying. My brother was crying, and we were all facing her and telling her, "We love you, and you're going to a better place." And but then something pulled my attention, this must have been not that many seconds after that last breath. Something pulled my attention away from her face here to the middle of this small bedroom. And it was like the air in the room started to shimmer, almost like if you were looking into a chandelier and, there was colors in the crystals. And it was like the air shimmered, and then something opened. And then I was looking through this opening, and my dear grandmother was there and moving away from me and moving toward something, toward someone. And then I recognized from all the old photographs that were around our house, my whole growing up, of my grandfather, of Imre. And I was like, oh my God, this is the moment she's been waiting for 53 years, and I'm seeing it. She's being reunited with her husband. I can't believe it. And she doesn't want to go. It was like she was reluctant. I could see her reluctance. I'm like, she's been waiting for this for so long. Why would she be reluctant? And then I got it. it was like he was this young, handsome man she had last seen 53 years earlier, and she's an old lady, not sick with the cancer, but still an old lady, the way I knew my grandmother. But he reached out and pulled her to him, and they embraced, and it got brighter, and then she was young again, like the last time they'd been together. And it was like they kissed like at the end of a Hollywood movie, but a movie could never do justice to a moment like this when it really happens. And then it got very bright, and then they were gone. And, I had just, with her last moment in this world, my grandmother's soul gave me a glimpse beyond the veil. And at that time, I was, just a very secular Jew, interested in spirituality, but feeling like, that's not really connected to Judaism. Tragic misunderstanding of what Judaism was that I had at that time, these 23 years ago. And but when I returned to LA, I wanted to honor her. And so I went to a synagogue to say Kaddish, and I had a really good experience that day. And I started learning and taking classes, and it's a whole other story, but I became really connected, and Judaism became a big part of my life. And eventually, if you know who I am, my name is Sal Litvak. I am online as the Accidental Talmudist, sharing Jewish wisdom with over 1 million followers through another little miraculous story that happened to me. And you can learn more about me at accidentaltalmudist.org. But none of that would have happened. My life wouldn't have become completely transformed but for that moment at the passing of my dear grandmother Magda, which was, so sad as it was happening, and then became so miraculous. And, after that image of her and her husband, my grandfather leaving, I sort of came back to to myself in this room, and my mom and my brother were still weeping, and I was still weeping, but I had this massive smile on my face because I'd been given a glimpse into the world of souls, which is real.